Good morning, everybody. I'm Sarah. Certainly, I'll be your moderator today. So our second session of the 2022 IT Professionals Conference, Day 2. This is Tableau tips and tricks. And I will now hand it over. Just want everyone to know that this is being recorded and the videos will be accessible on the IT Professionals Conference website in coming weeks. And now I'd like to hand it over to Marnaz.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for attending my session. Hopefully this is going to be interesting and you can take whatever I'm showing and use it. So I am a business intelligence developer at the Office of Data Management and Analytics Services. And one of the privileges that I have is I'm the main contact, the first contact for Tableau. So there is a wonderful dev community. Sometimes they reach out for questions and things like that. This is a wonderful way to learn new things. And at the end of the year, last year, I thought, oh, you know what? Maybe I can share some of this stuff with others. So it might be useful to some other folks as well. So I picked just a few of them and I put them together here. We're gonna take a look at some of the stuff. One of them is using calculation to solve disappearing, repeating items in a table, and I'm gonna show you what I mean with that. We're gonna talk about custom sort, how to add, modify column headers, believing or not, but that was painful in some situations. Adding charts to a tooltip and partial average. There is more exciting things, but I thought, hey, I keep it simple and short. Now, because this is only 30 minutes, I try to keep track of questions, but it would probably be pushed to the end. If I miss your question, please send it to me. So let's get started with that. Okay, so let me show you first something before we start with our index demo. And what I mean is one day, one of my clients needed to have something that when they scroll, they can see this first column as well in every row. And even though in Tableau desktop, it sticks to this, but in server, it just reverted back to not coming along. One of the ways that I found to be useful with that is I just added index to it. So let's go back here. There we go. So as you can see, the same thing, but here in the desktop, it sticks there. So you don't have the same effect in the server. And one of the ways that you can do things is I just created a calculated field quickly, index field, and I just used, oops, index function, right? And I had to make it discrete. Where is it? To discrete. And I moved it up here. Now, what I want to do is I want it to go across and then down the table. So using across and then down. So that way, it's going to show the physical order of my data. So the other thing that I needed to do, of course, remove the header, and that gave me the effect that I needed. So with index, again, as I mentioned, it gives you the physical order of data. Something that comes with that, though, some issue that is with it is that it's gonna take away the sort functionality. So if I go here back to the demo, here I can sort. I don't have index, right? But here I can't anymore because index, again, just goes, this is the first row, this is the second row, and it just ignores the sort stuff. How you can overcome that if you really need the sort, you can do a custom sort, what we call it. So as you can see, there are other scenarios as well that you can use custom sort. It's not just this, but for example, I have a chart here that has calculations based on different things. I'm calculating either quantity, as you can see, I am calculating profit, so it changes. I'm calculating sales. I want to make sure that always it's sorted based on whatever I'm choosing. So that's another situation where I want to have the sort happen dynamically. Now, let's go and take a look. There are like different situations. For example, I just want to sort by one column, by one field, and that's it, right? So this is this one. Let's go take a look. I have my aggregated data here, the column, which is based on my parameter, it changes. So I just want to see profit. Actually, I want to see quantity and things like that, right? So let's take a look at the aggregated by for a quick second so that you see what it is. Just, again, use this parameter. I'm sure that most of you have done that. And then it just changes based on that. Now, what I did with the sort is what we can do, we can use rank for it. So I used rank, I ranked it. Let's do a quick comparison. With index, it just gives you the order of data in what it appears when you open the workbook. Okay, so it's like, hey, row 1, row 2, row 3, I don't care about your sort. This is what it is. I'm taking over. With rank, though, it looks at the value. It ranks based on the value, not the physical order of the data. So you can use rank to do the aggregated, the sorting. And you can, with the rank, the good thing is you can make it descending or ascending and things like that. It has to be aggregated data, so some. And as we can see, but this is only considering this. So quantity, profit, it doesn't go with these ones. Now, if I want to have multiple fields, then I'm gonna have to bring the rank it on multiple fields. There is one, like there is region, and then aggregated. Now, I separate them by a dash so that it properly ranks them, and I can show you how it looks like. So if I have this showing, you see, this is with the dash, it shows, okay, first it's going to rank by this one, and then it's going to rank by that one, by the next one. And that's what I want. If I didn't put the dash in, you would see 118. Okay, what is it? Is it 11-8? Is it 1-18 or things like that? So I'm going to take that away. So you can do that with the parameter easily. Now, there are situations, let me go back to my slides. Okay. So you just have to make sure that you are using aggregate functions for rank. Let me go next one. Okay. So there is also something else on my table that I want to change. One thing that you see here is, okay, this doesn't have title. The normal way of doing that is measure names. You just pull it here to the columns. One. Measure names. There we go. Okay. Let me just make it. There we go. And then you can just right click on this and edit alias and say, hey, aggregated by aggregated field or something like that. But see, this is, I want it to be more dynamic. And because I have one field that, one measure field, I can do something else with that. So I can actually make a dynamic field name and put it up there. So I'm going to take this away. So what the title that you want it to be, you create a calculated field, call it custom measure title or something. And what do I want it to say? I want it to say the total of whatever this is showing, right? So I say total plus, and then I aggregate it by. So, okay. Oops. Let me see. Edit. Oh, right, of course. Not this, not the aggregated by, with calculate using. Sorry, I meant to put this on. Okay, so total, and then whatever this drop down says. Okay, so where's my title here? Now I can drag this over to the columns and it's going to be showing total profit, quantity. You see, it changes, sales. So it changes with the type of data that I'm showing, which is handy sometimes. Now, let's say, okay, so measures. I want to change this as well. This is not a measure. This is a dimension. I don't want to change the field name itself. I just wanted to show something else here. So there's a way to do that by you double click here, go to the beginning, dash dash, order, region, and then you hold shift down, hit enter, and enter. So you change this without changing the actual field name. So again, sometimes it's very useful. It's helpful, like you have it on different, the same thing on different sheets. You don't want to create like duplicate. That's what I did when I started with Tableau, and just change it this way. So these are just about titles and things like that. Let me see. Should I pause for any questions before I go any further? Maybe I should pause. Anybody has any questions so far? Okay. All right. It's good. So if you have multiple columns that are measures, you can just pull this over, pull the just measure names over, and then, you know, right click one by one and change it to whatever you want. I couldn't find a great way of doing dynamic measures. I've seen that people create index if it complicates sorting. Yeah, I'm gonna get that. That's a great question then. So what was I saying? So for multiple columns, if I've seen that people make like a separate sheet and bring it, but that might cause issues with accessibility. I haven't tried that. But other than that, the best way is just to pull measure names. So Daniel, to your question, let's go back to here. So my client wanted to see this. Every line, they wanted to see everything. Like they didn't want this to disappear, right? Or they didn't want it to be on top and then they just wanted to see this on every row. So in order to do that, I dragged index in. It's just the number of the orders in there. And then we went from there. But yeah, that was one way that I was able to fix this. Of course, if anybody has better answers, send it to me. Does it make sense? Awesome. Thank you. Great question. Okay, so all right, let's see. Okay, so one of the things that I had to do for one of my clients was to add a chart to a tooltip, and this is actually easier than it sounds. So let's go to the tooltip here. So what you see here is a map, and I hover over. You can see that there is a table in addition to the state and total profit. So if I go on a different one, you see it changes. To this one, it changes. So this that we saw is another sheet. So all those information, I dragged it into the columns and rows in order to create this. Now, when you have this and you go to the map, because that's where the tooltip is. So we want to make sure we add it here. So you click on the tooltip, okay? Let me just remove that for you. Under insert, you see you have a bunch of fields here. You can also add sheets. So if I click on the sheet, okay, it comes with this long string. So if I say okay, it's gonna just immediately apply that. You see this thing. I may just have to hit enter so that you see it on its own thing. There we go. So it takes effect. Now there are different things that you can do. As you can see, it doesn't show everything, it cuts off. So I can actually make it bigger. I don't know, let's say 450 max width. I can give it also 150 max height. Let's see how it looks like now. Better, it fits everything right now. That's good. And right now, when I hover over state, it is filtering on both region and state. Maybe I just want, even though it doesn't make sense in this scenario, but maybe I just want to see the region. So all the states in that region when I hover over any state. I can do that. Right now, it is filtering on all fields. You can just change that. Say, hey, I just want it to filter down to region. That's it. So if I go over, you see, it shows everything for that region and more, actually. So I might have missed something. But anyway, so you can go further and do other things with that. Go back to all fields. Okay, so now it does work as expected and things like that. So it still works the same as the other one. The only thing is that if you don't see any data, because this is tied to the tooltip, there has to be data for it to trigger the tooltip. So if the tooltip doesn't get triggered, you won't see it. So there is data, you can see it. Here, there is no data, you can't see it. If I change this to 2021, there's only this that can give you the data, the other one. So just keep that in mind. And it can be anything. So if I go change this into that, let's say, I mean, not very pretty, but it still can handle that. So if you hover over, it shows you the chart. So it can be a table, it can be a chart and things like that. So that's that. Any question on this one? All right. Oops, here. Okay, so partial average. Sometimes we need to have like a partial average. We want to see the data, let's say some data year by year by year, but we want to also see like a part of average of this data. I say, okay, I see 5 years, but I want only the average for the past 3 years or something like that. And we can do this with, let me go back. And here's an example of that. So as you can see here, I have data for the past 4 years, okay? And you have the average of past n years. And I can decide, okay, how many years do I want to show, right? So I can show only 3 years average, you can see, or 2 years, right? If I say 1 year, it's just going to show the same thing for the last year, that's it. So it can be tied also to a parameter. The user can decide what to do with it. Now, let's see how this can be done. Okay, so what you can do, you can use the last function together with window average to get this working. Let's see, past n years. And there is 2 things. Let me just show this so that you can see it. All right. So what I have done here, and it shows everything, is I'm using the window average. I go for which field? For this one. Okay, so I go see from where to where. And this from where is where I tied my parameter to it. You can also like have 2 of them, hey, from this to that. And there is different ways that you can make this dynamic if you want. And then last, and I rounded that up to 1 decimal. And then I said, hey, if it's null, just give me 0. Don't show me nulls. And that's it. But then it wasn't counting the zeros with it. It was just doing average. As you can see here, it took this and divided by 2. That's it. But if I want all the zeros to be counted, then what I did is that. So the window average, I used the same thing, except I wrapped my aggregated data with a Zn function, which is going to say, okay, so zeros are allowed. I mean, nulls is going to be zeros and things like that. So it's going to count them as that. Anyway, so I put two of them here so that you can see them by side by side to see how they're acting different. You see. So this didn't change, but this did, because it's counting zeros as well. Yeah, things like that. Okay. So any questions? Okay. All right. Okay. So let's go to the next. And also, like, I put that in my slides if you were looking for it. Now, a couple things that I wanted to mention here. There are some links that I put at the end. Also, I have the same visits that I showed you. I have it on my public Tableau profile. So if you want, you can go check it out. There are some KBs that are related to things that I talked about, and also this is our office of data of ODMAS. So things like that. Anyways, good. I kept within the time. But anybody has any questions? Anything that they want to ask? Or any suggestions for next time?
I thought it was really interesting. I didn't realize all the things you could do with Tableau. It must be interesting trying to get your client users to tell you exactly what they want when there's so many different options. But it looked really neat.
Yeah, Tableau is very powerful. It can do many things. It has sometimes it's hard to deal with it. When client wants something, they think it's easy, but then you have to go and figure it out, or figure out a workaround, something like that. So I just wanted to keep this one very simple, basic, and then go from there.
I loved how you could do it with a map and have the tables kind of in, so they popped up. That was really neat.
Yeah, map is interesting. It has its own world. It has a lot of different things. Like with map, you can, oops, yeah, my info is there too. With maps, you can, like, there is layers that you can play with. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with maps, which is good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I have also my information there. If you have any questions, if you want to see something, let me know. Tab, you have a place. Well, one of the best places is the Tableau website itself, Tableau community too. They have trainings. They have really good trainings on that, on Tableau and things like this. As far as I know, if anybody has better sources, just share that in the chat. But so far, Tableau community is good. They also have like a developer community based on what you're doing. For example, help people with APIs, things like that. That is also there. There's a lot of good communities out there for Tableau, I noticed. Okay, so this is all I had. Let me stop sharing. And if anybody has any questions, wants to hear about something else, let me know. Send me a message, text.
Thank you so much for doing this talk. It was really informative. And I'm sure everyone enjoyed it attending. But we're wrapping up. We've got about 15 minutes before the next session starts. Enough time for you guys all to grab another cup of coffee. And thank you for attending.